Hello everyone, this is Dr. Geri Puleo and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar on what is burnout. In today's webinar we're going to be talking about three specific definitions in terms of what burnout actually is. The first definition is created by the psychoanalyst who discovered the burnout phenomenon. His name was Henry Freudenberger and he was a Freudian psychoanalyst in New York City. He described burnout as a 12-stage process. And in that process, you devolved into fatigue and frustration, usually from devotion to a cause or a way of life or some type of a relationship. But the problem with that is that your reality didn't meet your expectations. So even though you were devoted to something and you tried your hardest, the results that you received just didn't measure up to what you were expecting. As a result, you persist in trying to meet those expectations. But the problem is that you still can't meet them. And what that creates inside of you is something Freudenberger called an increased friction. What's so deadly about this friction that you experience is that inevitably, listen to that, inevitably, it's going to deplete your resources, your vitality, and your energy. And once those have been depleted, then you have an absolute inability to function, which is burnout. A little bit later, Christina Madlock came up with her own definition of burnout, and she described burnout as a result of three components. And those three components are exhaustion, mental and physical, combined with a sense of cynicism. You just don't care anymore. You're cynical, paranoid. You just don't care. And as a result, you're inefficient. There's inefficacy. And what that means is that you're tired, you're cynical, and as a result, you don't put your best foot forward, and the result is that you're no longer productive. When all of those three components come together to create the perfect storm, you have burnout. Most recently, I created something called the BDOC model, which sees burnout as a journey. BDOC stands for Burnout During Organizational Change. And what I discovered is that the burnout process, which can really be viewed as an inverted bell-shaped curve, is a very quick descent. You start out with hope, and then when your expectations and needs aren't met, you become frustrated. Then you become angry. Then it leads to apathy. And then finally you burn out. Now that process is very quick. However, the recovery from burnout, I discovered, was very slow. And that was comprised of a physical and psychological removal from the situation, followed by a period of self-reflection. Now, what I discovered is that the descent takes about, maybe 6 months to a year to go into full-blown burnout. However, the recovery stage can take 2 years, and the ultimate goal of that recovery is a new normalcy. You're not back at the same level of hope that you were before the burnout, but instead you have a new normalcy that is created by a revised psychological contract with an employer. What that basically means is the way you look at things and what you expect from your job and from your employer in exchange for what you're willing to give is drastically changed. So let's have a little fun quiz here. Which of the following statements really isn't characteristic of burnout? Is it after sleeping the whole weekend, you feel much better at work on Monday? Do you think that's burnout? Or is burnout when you're cranky and irritable most of the time? What about if it takes you longer to complete routine projects? What if you're forgetful and you're missing deadlines? Is that characteristic of burnout? Or what if you just don't care about your work anymore? What do you think is the most characteristic of burnout? What do you think isn't characteristic of burnout? The answer is the first one. If you can sleep a whole weekend and feel much better at work on Monday, then you're probably just tired, but you're not in a full-blown burnout where you're inefficient, you don't care, you're cranky, you're irritable, and you're absolutely unable to function. I hope these definitions help you get a better understanding of what burnout is and isn't.